I used to think we were a fatherless generation, a people raised by echoes, by absence, by wounds that turned into walls, a generation learning how to be strong before we ever learned how to be held, learning how to survive before we learned how to be safe, learning how to provide before we learned how to be provided for. But the longer I walked with God, the more I felt heaven whisper, "Baby girl, you do not lack a father. You lack the memory of me." Because the truth is, the ache inside us isn't the ache of being fatherless. It is the ache of forgetting the father we already have. The father who was there before our parents ever breathed. The father who stayed when people left. The father who held us when we didn't even know to reach. The father who knew our names before we learned to speak his. And somewhere in the middle of healing, I realized something sacred. We don't learn God by watching people. We learn people by knowing God. So here I am, not fatherless, just learning how to be a daughter again. Learning to let Him correct me without crushing me. Learning to let Him love me without fear. Learning to let Him raise me without the narrative of my childhood interrupting. Teach me, Abba, to be your child again, because the child in me still remembers the ache, but the woman in me is learning the answer. Hi, TEAF family. Welcome back. Today we're going deep. Not into the one, but into the one who heals the one. We're talking about the fatherhood of God, not as a concept, not as a title, but as an identity shaping lineage healing revelation. Someone told me recently, I heard someone say recently, we are a fatherless generation, especially millennials. At first, I agreed because we see men who feel untrained and unsupported, women who feel unprotected and self-raised, children who feel unseen, unheard, and unrooted, families walking with emotional limp after emotional limp. But as I sat with God, He interrupted that agreement. You are not fatherless. You are simply disconnected from the revelation of me. It's not fatherlessness, it's forgetfulness. We know trauma intimately, but Abba vaguely. We know abandonment, but not adoption. We know survival, but not sonship. Before we talk about God as Father, we need to acknowledge there is a child inside every adult still waiting to be held, still waiting to hear, "I've got you," still waiting for guidance, for affirmation, for identity spoken in love. Many of us are not distant from God. We are guarded with Him. because the child inside us never learned what safety felt like. This is why Abba is not a theological idea. It is an emotional restoration. I met a young man who told me, I am never having children. My family is toxic. I refuse to continue that story. He meant it all right. He meant well. But as he spoke, I didn't just hear the fear of parenting. I heard fear of becoming what he never had. Fear of repeating what traumatized him. Fear of stepping into a role he only saw mishandled. To him, rejecting fatherhood was a form of self-protection. But trauma disqualifies absolutely no one from destiny. God fathers you into what you never saw. God fathers you into what you never saw. Your upbringing is not your prophecy. Your parents are not your blueprint. Before we move further, I want to pause. Not every parent was absent. Not every parent was harmful. And even those who were imperfect were often doing the best they could with the emotional tools, upbringing, and understanding they had. Some raised us while carrying wounds no one acknowledged. Some loved us with hands that were never held. Some protected us while no one protected them. Some gave everything they had, even when everything still wasn't enough for our needs. Honoring our parents doesn't mean ignoring where we hurt, but healing does not require dishonoring them either. We can hold the truth of our experience without releasing the honor of their humanity. And for those who had loving, steady parents, we bless that gift. But even the best earthly parents are reflections, not the source. Even the warmest homes are shadows of a greater reality. Every story, whole, fractured, or complicated, is invited into the perfect fatherhood of God. Imagine if Abraham had said, I cannot be a father. I did not grow up with one worth following. I have no model. I am disqualified. But God said, go from your father's house to the land I will show you. That's in Genesis 12 verse 1. God wasn't just leading Abraham out of a location. He was leading him out of a lineage. I will make you a father of many nations. Genesis chapter 17 verse 4. Not because Abraham had training, not because he came from health, but because God would be the father behind the father. Jesus didn't come only to save us. He came to introduce us to the Father we forgot. In John chapter 14, verse 9, Jesus said, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. Everything Jesus did showed us Abba, how he touches the broken, restores identity, walks with the rejected, calls us daughter and son. Healing begins the moment we say, Abba, I am willing to be fathered by you. Not by becoming strong enough to avoid pain, but becoming soft enough to receive love. When God fathers you, he doesn't just heal you, the one. He heals men who lacked role models, women who raised themselves emotionally, children who will grow under blessing, not survival, the lineage that flows from you. Your healing becomes your children's inheritance, your surrender, your safety. Your yes becomes their covering. So today, I bless the child inside you who still longs for a father. You are not fatherless. You have never been fatherless. You will never be fatherless. Abba sees you. Abba claims you. Abba raises you. Abba restores you. And Abba will rewrite your lineage through you. May the love of God be with you always, and I will see you next time.